Here we are.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on your pathway to paperless. We're here to lead you on the way through that journey. My name is Adam Bailey.
And I'm Dr. Gina Dorfman.
And we are here today to show you how you're going to be able to stop scanning and shredding any paper in your dental practice. You're going to lead your team to success and become a true paperless pro. And without further ado, we were just talking about the weather, so let's continue that for a little bit because it's a little bit warmer than 79 today, but it's actually not a temperature, it's a percentage. The percentage of time that you may be inefficiently using in your dental practice if you're still scanning or doing data entry. There's a chance over the weekend, 80% chance of filing. Tuesday has a 60% chance of missing information. Maybe your patients are leaving blanks on their forms. So overall, not looking too good. But after today, or after you implement something like our true paperless features, we're looking at a nicer forecast for the summer. 100% chance of efficiency. On the weekend, you can probably skip the filing or scanning, whatever you were planning to do, and focus on something that really matters to you, which is our goal for you today. So beyond that, we're also going to show you how to cure interruptitis, completely eliminate scanning and shredding, and improve your team communication as well when you become paperless. You're going to see some opportunities and mistakes that you can avoid, and also save up to 600 hours, which is about, for an average dental practice, the amount of time that it takes to scan documents, shred documents, and it's just a ton of time that we're going to help you save.
Absolutely. Before we get started, we wanted to take just a few minutes to introduce ourselves. As you might know, my name is Dr. Gina Dorfman. I'm one of the co-founders of Yapi, but I'm also a mom of two amazing kids. I'm a wife, I am a practicing dentist, and I'm a practice owner. I graduated from USC in 2000, and in 2002, together with my husband, who is not a dentist, I started my first practice in a very saturated area. This is a picture of my team now. We've grown tremendously over the years. And part of the reason why we've grown so quickly is because we've always been able to find incredible people to join our team, people who really understand dentistry, who really, they go to bat for patients. They are true patient advocates. But besides our team, there's one other thing that we've done that I really feel helped us scale and grow, and that's the fact that we've always used great technology, both clinically and on the business side. In fact, Yapi started in my office. It was something that we came up with to fill a need, and when we shared it with our dental friends, there was demand for it all of a sudden, and this is how Yapi became a company. And of course, Adam joined our company a few years ago.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a really exciting couple of years since I joined. I'm actually from Texas originally, but moved to California about 4 years ago. I love it here. I love it at Yapi as well. I've seen this company grow and the products grow, and I actually have worked really closely with hundreds of offices on implementing Yapi, so I know a lot about the product itself, and I'm currently working as our brand strategist right now to help increase awareness of these awesome features, help get Yapi into more offices so more dental teams can reap the benefits of the software. So we do have quite a variety of products, but today we're going to focus mostly on the iPad and the true paperless features that we offer. But in addition, we have a practice dashboard that the iPad and all of your devices can connect to. It reads your practice management software live, shows you all this awesome actionable information about your patients that are currently here. It's integrated with Apple Watches, so you can receive notifications about your patient's status if they're ready. If you need someone to be numb and Op1, those can go to your Apple Watch or your phone. And we also have a lot of awesome patient engagement features, automated text reminders, email reminders that integrate with your practice management software to quickly change those statuses, so you don't have to call your patients or click buttons to change their status. Yapi is going to do it for you. And we also have features to help you with your online reviews, getting more authentic 5-star reviews automatically. And most recently, we launched an integration called Phone Assistant. So Yapi can actually connect to your phone system and show you who's calling if they're a patient, their next appointment date, last appointment date, their name spelled correctly so you don't have to get into those awkward conversations. And it's also going to show you if they're due for recall or if they have an outstanding balance. So all that actionable information is there for you immediately when they call. But back to our focus today on the iPad and our true paperless features. So before we show you what the features look like with Yapi, there's more to talk about as far as what your practice may or may not be like if you're chartless or if you're trying to become paperless, if you're all charts. So I wanted to ask the question, what's the difference between chartless and paperless? Because we hear the terms used interchangeably, but they're not necessarily, I don't think.
Excellent point, Adam. Chartless is how the information is stored. So most practices now have some sort of a practice management software, and some are still using charts with their practice management software, but a lot of practices now store all of the patient information, all of the practice notes, procedure notes, copies of patients' records in their chartless software. Dentrix, Eaglesoft, Open Dental, all excellent choices. The difference between chartless and paperless is that chartless is how the information is stored and paperless is how the information is received and retrieved from the software. It's about the workflow. And with a chartless system, you have your practice management software, and you probably also have some PDF forms on your website that patients have to print, and then they'll fill them out by hand, bring them to the office, hopefully. And then the team still needs to enter the data manually and scan those forms and shred those forms, and then they typically print some sort of a routing slip just to be able to keep track of the patient's flow in the office. And then, of course, sometimes if they don't do it, then they'll have some paper forms for them at the office to complete. So they'll ask the patient to come in earlier. The patient fills out the forms. A lot of times they don't come in earlier, but if they do, they'll fill out the forms and then they sit and wait in the reception while the team is processing paperwork. Mm-hmm. And then they may even have a kiosk. They may even have a signature pad. They may even have laminated forms. Dentists have been trying to go from chartless to paperless for quite a few years, and that was my own journey. And, chartless has its benefits. One benefit of chartless is that it saves space. We used to have all those file cabinets. Now, everything is on a computer, and it can be on a small disk in a safe deposit box. So it definitely has a benefit of saving space. And it also protects data if you have good backup, if you have proper, safeguards in the practice to make sure that your information is not accessed by anyone who's not authorized, then the data is safe and protected. And we've seen that in many practices around the country in the past few years with, a lot of disasters happening. But the problem is that even with those two benefits, chartless misses the boat on all of the other benefits that paperless gives us. Mm-hmm. So paperless also saves space, and paperless also protects the data. But the problem is that unlike paperless, chartless doesn't save us time. Paperless saves time, and that's the greatest benefit. Time, our team's time, is the most expensive item on the profit and loss sheet, right? Mm-hmm. So paperless saves time because chartless, with scanning is just like filing. It takes just as much time. It's not fun, and it's just as easily prone to errors. With paperless, because everything is automated, paperless helps us minimize errors. There's no illegible handwriting. Right. Everything goes to the right chart because the computer controls the flow. And of course, because in the paperless office, a lot of the information comes to the surface automatically when it's needed. In front of the person who needs to see it, it helps us prevent lost opportunities. It helps us improve team communication and get everyone on the team on the same page. And most importantly, it enhances our patient's experience. I've had that experience once where I had a medical appointment and I went online. They had some sort of a portal where I had to register. I filled out the forms and I came to the doctor, and the receptionist was like, oh, okay, and handing me the clipboard with a bunch of paper forms. And I said, but I already did those online. She said, oh yeah, let me log in into the portal and check and see. And so there I was sitting and waiting for her to log in and find my information. And that just takes away from a great first impression that we're trying to create when we welcome new patients into our practices. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about creating great experiences and saving our team's time.
Absolutely. So I have a question really quick before we show you how everything works with Yapi about saving the time, because we've calculated average 600 hours. That's $9,000 to $12,000 in a person's salary. So what did you do, or what would you do with that time in your dental practice? That's what I kind of wanted to focus on, because we're going to show you how you're going to be able to enjoy these features, but what would you recommend to do with the extra time that you're saving?
That's an excellent question. As a practice owner and as someone who is very active in a dental community, I talk to a lot of practice owners, and I hear the same thing from everyone. My team doesn't have time to call patients who are past due. We have some sort of an automation software, but the patients are still not being scheduled. So we ask them to call, but they tell me the same thing. There's no time to call those patients. The account receivables are growing cold and old because there's never time to call insurance companies. There's never time to call patients who, for some reason, have a past due balance. We try to avoid it, but it happens. Mm-hmm. And even just patient relationship. I mean, how often do you call a dental practice and whoever answers the phone just seems rushed? Like, she picks up the phone and it's like, please hold, mm-hmm. right? They're on the phone with insurance companies. There's so many things that are happening at the front that those important things that, we manage the day-to-day, but those important things that we need to work on daily to move our practices forward, those things don't happen. And by being able to save a few minutes here, a few minutes there, it all adds up, and we can really focus on what matters, our patients, the ones in front of us, because we talk about having a practice or patient relationship software mm-hmm. in the practice, but you can't automate relationships. You can automate a lot of things, but you have to be there for the patients and have the time to talk and engage with them and make them feel special and welcome.
Absolutely. That's awesome advice. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to get into showing you what Yapi looks like in your practice a little bit more now, so you'll see that. There's just a little view of where forms can be signed anywhere and everywhere that you have an iPad. You can bring this around and show treatment plans. New patients can use the iPad, or better yet, they can receive a welcome email from Yapi and complete forms online. If you join a little bit late, you can enter any questions you have while you're watching about the true paperless product. You can type your question in the Q&A box and we'll get to it. And just a quick overview, Yapi is integrated with your practice management software, Dentrix, Open Dental, EagleSoft, PracticeWorks. When you mark patients as here, they're going to show up in Yapi automatically, or you can quickly check in from your Yapi practice dashboard. It's actually designed for a really fast check-in process to make the communication easier and better for your team, but it's up to you how you like to use that feature. And on your iPad, you'll be able to download Yapi. You could even download it right now after our webinar in tutorial mode and get familiar with the gestures. Patients will appear automatically, and you'll be able to just swipe across a patient with your finger like that and see a view of available forms and documents. Now, I mentioned new patients can complete forms online, and that's the best. We hope that for you, we hope that for your patient, but let's face it, someone's going to come in and maybe they're a little bit lazy with their actions before coming to the practice, and that's fine. So they'll be able to use the iPad in the front office. You could walk over to the room with them with the iPad as well. Doesn't matter where, they can tap on the forms that you select for them and begin completing them. And what you're going to notice is that our forms pre-populate a lot of relevant information that's already there, so your patient's not wasting their time or your time by retyping information. And if something's missing, it'll be brought to their attention. Mandatory field for email in this example, so took care of that today. And everything can be signed and saved on the iPad. So there's no need for any signature devices. It's all here. You don't have to use two things at once. And if it's a parent or patient, you can always differentiate that within the form. So they're very flexible as far as that is concerned. Once forms are saved, any practice dashboard, any desktop with Yapi can be used to view this form. So a front office or back office assistant, you can look at the patient information really quickly and make sure everything's there, that it looks good. With one click of a button, whatever was changed is brought to your attention. So patients aren't just blindly changing the information in your database. You get a preview of exactly what was changed today to accept and then update in your practice management software, just like that. In real time, if you looked a little closely, these little icons that appear next to your patient update immediately. There's no more missing phone, there's no more missing email. So those icons are there to help you recognize whether there's something missing or actionable for that patient today. That was just patient information. Let's talk about the medical history. That's where most of the questions regarding our forms come in. Can I customize my medical history? I'm going to show you how it works the way that we've designed it for your practice management software. It actually shows you your own alerts that you have set up in Dentrix, Open Dental, EagleSoft, and patients can see what was indicated previously. It'll pre-populate. Yapi is actually the only software that will show current records and allow patients to change those for you to import back in a really quick process. If it's a new patient, they're entering the information for the first time, but during their update, it'll all be there preloaded, pre-populated for them to make any changes. And you can add or remove certain questions, but we've designed these forms to be extremely efficient for your practice management software and to include those the questions that you would ask every 6 or 12 months when you're updating records. So what you may be noticing is that each time a form is saved, it's also saved on every Yapi. So everyone has the same information. That's part of our saving time and team communication. You can always keep in touch or keep in the loop with what's going on because these icons will show up when they're relevant. So a little form folder shows up. Medical history is here to preview on any desktop or iPad you could use. So you can see exactly what that patient just submitted. They could still be in the front office area filling out the forms, and you're in the back reviewing this information. You can actually add a signature. You can annotate these documents before you import them to your document center or SmartDoc, Open Dental Images. And there are those icons updated again immediately in Yapi. So no matter where you're looking, Yapi is communicating with you, bringing everything together. And we have all types of forms ready to get you started. A notice of privacy practices, acknowledgement, HIPAA. We can create your own custom financial policy for you pretty easily. And that's all included with Yapi. And it's also safe and secure. So if patients have this iPad in their hand and you're worried that they're going to see or do something else within the app itself, you don't need to be worried because it's required that you set up a password at some point before you start using our features. We recommend that you set one up at least, so that way this is all a patient would see. So very safe. You can keep your password short too. It doesn't have to be numbers and characters. You could enter one letter on the iPad if you really wanted, and that would be fine for your password. Now, because we're using iPads, we have some added benefits of the technology because you can use the camera to take a photo of your patient. If you notice this patient looks a little familiar, it's actually a custom Yapi screen cleaning puppy. We have those at our dental conferences and trade shows that we go to. So if you see us, come by and grab a puppy. That photo immediately updates in your practice management software as well. Patients can take their own picture too, so if someone wants to do a selfie in the op, they can certainly do that. And you can use the iPad for taking photos. So the amount of time that it takes to scan a document and get rid of it, you can just snap a photo on your iPad and then choose which folder in your practice management software you want that to go to. It's so fast, so much easier. And last but not least, our online patient forms are mobile friendly. They're responsive on any device. Yapi has an automated welcome email so that you'll just have to enter a new patient file with an email address, and that patient's going to get an email personalized to them with that link to tap on later the same evening. We definitely recommend that you replace any older PDF fillable forms on your website with our Yapi integrated forms link, obviously, for the benefit of having everything syncing in one place. I'm just going to rewind our clip a little bit because you get notifications from Yapi on your desktop computers as patients are completing these forms online. So you don't have to go check in the email inbox. You don't have to go to a portal. It's just all here on your dashboard. So you just click the button for your online forms. You can see the name of the patient, the date that they were submitted, each type of form. The nice thing about having them individualized like this is you can choose to import or some of the forms before they arrive and keep some in Yapi, and you can have patients review them on the iPad. You can have your clinical staff review on the iPad before they're in your practice management software. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize these features in order of events to fit your workflow the best. That's what we would recommend. The other reason I would recommend updating all the information is you make sure if you had a different phone number, the patient is going to be able to make sure everything's correct. You can sync the information before they arrive, so they'll get your text reminders, your same-day text if you're using Yapi, reminding them, hey, your appointment's coming up in 2 hours. And it's one of my favorite features because it eliminates the need for so much use of the iPad during that first visit, and it saves a lot of time.
Absolutely. Thank you for showing all these features. Now, as a practicing dentist, as someone who's in the practice, I wanted to comment on the few features that I personally enjoy myself a lot. Now, of course, I've already mentioned that I love the fact that when online forms come in, they don't go to some portal or an email. It pops right on the dashboard, and we can really prepare for these patients in advance. We can create that amazing experience when we're completely ready for them. We come in and we're ready to welcome them. We're ready to seat them back. But another great feature is that when a patient comes in, and sometimes it's a same-day appointment, maybe it's an emergency, and with emergencies, you kind of want to get going, right? So a lot of times we get anxious in the back, like, is the patient ready to be seated? Are the patients still filling out forms? And so with Yapi, you can see on the dashboard whether the form is being completed, where they are in that process, whether the patient is ready to be seated. And I might be sitting in my personal office, but I can already review the information that the patient posted without anyone having to bring me the chart or telling me to go and check. It's all right there on the dashboard and easy for me to see. And of course, the other thing, and I've always had this issue with the practice management software that I have in my office, is that I often had to click through different modules to find different pieces of information. Medical history here, alerts here, do they have any medications? And the wonderful thing about Yapi is that once the information is completed and updated, all of these little patient alerts are popping up on the dashboard, and I can just visually see, do we have a medical history that needs my attention, or is it someone without any medical conditions? I don't even have to read or look. It's all up there for me to see. Any communications from the front office. It makes it very easy for me as a doctor to walk into the operatory and be fully informed instead of just flying blind. And of course, because we're all looking at the same dashboard, we all see the same information. So it's whether it's patient's birthday today or tomorrow, or whether they have some kind of a medical condition that needs to be addressed, maybe something as simple as latex allergy, everyone is aware just at a glance. And that's really a great feature. And of course, the fact that we can review and sign these forms anywhere in the office. I already mentioned doing it from my private office where I don't have an iPad in my office. I just signed with a mouse after I review that. But I can do it on any iPad. I can do it on any operatory computer. And that really creates a very smooth flow for us. And what I like is that we can also have those forms on the website as a link. So even if they're coming to us and they don't have an appointment yet, if they want to get started on that paperwork, they can. And the great thing about it is that we hear that new patient appointments have the highest no-show rate. But think about it, once they've given you the information, they're committed to that appointment.
That makes a lot of sense. Definitely. we are going to talk a little bit more about the communication element that you were describing as well. Um, so this is a very cool, calm, collected looking photo right here of a dental front office, but we don't know what's on the other side. That could be causing a lot of different thought bubbles. Maybe you're trying to answer this phone call, but you forgot about the other phone call. So we're going to show you how Yapi can help that just by being paperless and using a system to minimize some of the other tasks and help organize your workflow. But there's a funny analogy for exactly what this is. Her name is Christine.
Her name is Christine. This is my scheduling coordinator, or as I like to call her, the director of first impressions. This is the first face you see when you walk into my practice. And usually she does look like that. But in many dental offices, the front office, and anyone who works in the front office can probably relate to this analogy. The front office employee is like an octopus, right? You need to have a big head and 8 arms just to get to everything that, is happening at the front. And I know I've had that experience many times before we started Yapi. And in fact, that was one of the moments that kind of led me to this idea that there's got to be a better way to handle this at the front. You bring the patient from the back, or maybe the hygienist is bringing the patient to the front, and she wants to do this perfect handoff with Christine, letting her know that the patient needs to schedule for a crown that the doctor recommended because maybe there is a crack, the patient is leaving on vacation, or maybe it's an existing crown that needs to be replaced with an open margin, but the crown was done recently in another office, or maybe we want to check insurance. And as she brings this patient to the front, of course, the phone rings, so Christine picks it up. And there might be a new patient. So now she's juggling the patient who needs to be presented a treatment plan and scheduled, and the hygienist who wants to do the handoff. And now she has a new patient she wants to impress on the phone. So she's juggling this. Maybe she's asking the patient to hold momentarily. Maybe she's telling the patient to have a seat, I'll be right with you. Meanwhile, the next hygiene patient comes in, the hygienist sees the patient, and now she's like, oh, I got to run back. I got to reset my room. She abandons the handoff, runs back. Now Christine needs to help the patient who's in front of her. So she's probably awkwardly holding the phone with her arm or with her shoulder while she's going through the paperwork and the charts in the front to see, does he need to update the medical history? Is there a consent form that needs to be done? Is there a balance to be collected for this patient? And the problem is, while Christine is trying to multitask, while she's trying to be this heroic octopus, the problem is that the human mind is not built for multitasking. When we think we're multitasking, we're actually switching back and forth very quickly between different activities. And when this happens, not only, our cortisol goes up and we become stressed, but we're also losing information because our brain is not retaining all of the little pieces of information. And while we want to make sure that Christine checks to see if the patient has a balance that needs to be collected, or make sure that the family's scheduled for their recall, and while we want to make sure she does have the time to get the email from the new patient so we can email the forms to them, or email the welcome letter. With so much going on, a lot of things are not getting done. And this is where we're talking about lost opportunities. This is where Christine has the opportunity to move the office forward and make sure that every single person has, an ultimate experience. But she can't because there's just too much going on. And what we've done with Yapi, with the dashboard, with some of the intra-office communication features, with some of the paperless features, with alerts, is we really try to eliminate that interruptitis, that infectious disease in the office where we're constantly interrupted, whatever we're doing, and really streamline things so that Christine can make sure to take care of everything. And yes, most of the time she really does look like that.
That's great. So the communication and lost opportunities, they kind of go hand in hand. So we're going to focus on some of the things that involves paper usually, and that's just, we're saving time by eliminating the paper, but we're also improving the communication by being able to prepare things in advance with your software as well. So what you're seeing here is a treatment plan that is getting ready the day before with Yapi. So you can print a treatment plan to your Yapi. Instead of going to your paper printer, it's going to actually be assigned to a patient in Yapi so that when they arrive, it's immediately ready for them to review on any iPad. So you're eliminating that, hey, can I get a print out of this treatment plan, or where is it? It's just, it's here. It's here in your app. Whenever you swipe across the patient that just walked in, their documents would be ready to go that you have preset, and then you can choose additional ones like consent forms quickly on the go, whatever is relevant for that visit. When you're selecting those consent forms and treatment plans, you'll see a little bit closer up when I swipe across the patient in Op3. Right there at the top of the screen, there's the treatment plan. So you can tap and hold. That's one of the gestures on Yapi, is just touch and hold down, and that's what allows you to select more than one form at any time. So it's really easy to show a patient everything all at once, which is very convenient for you as well. Your iPad is like your new digital filing cabinet. Everything's here. You don't have to go to the computer first. You can just use the iPad right now to choose any relevant forms for patients to view and sign today. One of the great things about the treatment plans is you can have them sign right here on the iPad. Again, no touch screens are required. No signature pads are required because we have the iPad touchscreen. That's what I meant to say. You can even mark up or circle. You can use different colors to annotate on this as well, or add notes. And then it's really hard to forget to sign a document on Yapi because it gives you little notifications that you need to continue if there's more than one. And we have a library of ready-to-use consent forms, so the day that you learn how to use these gestures on your iPad app, you could immediately start using these forms. Everything's going to sync perfectly whenever you're ready with your version of a document center or images or SmartDoc. So you'll be able to quickly import those whenever you're ready from any other Yapi dashboard. Because we have this dashboard, it's really designed to help you keep an eye on everything that's going on right now. It's not like your whole schedule in the day. It's really focused on the now. So it's great for communication. Someone can click a button and indicate the patient in Op1 is ready for their exam. Those types of alerts would be sound and color-coded per provider, and you can actually get those on your Apple Watch as well, or whatever smartwatch you have that's linked to your phone. And here's an example of how you can review a patient's medical history quickly on an iPad. They've already signed it and saved it today on their end. You can use any other iPad that has the Yapi app to review the same document. So a common question or misconception is, if the patient used iPad number 1, do I have to get iPad number 1 to see their form? No. If you have 3 iPads or 4 iPads, you can use any of those to add your signature or review forms. And you can turn off that alert that patient's ready for exam because now you're in Op1 with the patient. And just in case you were wondering, this is what it looks like on the desktop version of Yapi as well. If you wanted to add a signature before that medical history update or the first medical history the patient has ever submitted today, if you want to sign it, you can do that with your desktop mouse as well. Maybe you have a trackpad or something that you can write a little bit neater than me, but that's easy to do. And you've heard us talking about these little alerts a couple times today, so we're going to focus just for a second how hovering your mouse over these icons will bring to light exactly what's relevant about that alert. So the red cross will be linked to your current medical alerts. The little capsule or pill will show you medications. You'll see birthdays if it's their birthday week. If someone's past due for a recall, that's going to show up as well. They could be here for an emergency visit, and then maybe they haven't had a cleaning in a year and a half or something like that. And you can also see who the patient is without going to your schedule. You can just click one button in Yapi and see who you're coming to seat. So those are just a quick overview of some of those patient alerts, but you can actually make your own, which is really nice for specialty practices or pediatric offices. There's lots of different ways that you can customize those icons for your practice, and you can apply them whenever you think it's relevant. And it only shows you those icons when there's an action to take. So you're not just scanning through looking at everything. Yapi's only showing you the pieces that you need to see for today.
Thank you. You know, you mentioned something, you just showed the patient picture, and I thought, what an amazing experience for a patient when the team recognizes them as they walk in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they really, they feel like they're coming home. They're not just a number. And with just that one thing, just recognizing, just saying, "Hey, Adam, great to see you." I mean, you're conveying that they're somebody special. And Yapi makes it so easy to take that picture. And of course, another thing, you know, we were just looking at this dashboard, and it reminded me that in the old days, we used to have that hovering hygienist at the front. You know, the hygienist constantly checking in. Is my patient ready to be seated yet? Is my patient ready to be seated yet? And here we can see not only who the patient is, so when she's ready for him, she can come up and greet the patient. She doesn't have to hover at the front desk. If the patient is not ready, she knows just looking at the dashboard, and then she can come out and when the patient when Yapi indicates that patient is ready to be seated, she can come out and see him. And of course, one other important feature is that Yapi really safeguards that the information that we receive is complete and correct. One of the things with paper, besides, you know, and a lot of times we have nervous patients, we have, you know, they're rushed, maybe they're in pain, you know, they're not really sitting there meticulously filling out paperwork, with possible exception, maybe some older patients that tend to do that. But for the most part, it's ineligible handwriting. They're skipping fields that they decide are not important. And sometimes, you know, when we transfer that information into the chart manually, we end up doing additional data entry errors. And with Yapi, we can really eliminate that, because Yapi will prevent them skipping required fields. And if the patient mistypes their email or something, then Yapi will often catch that mistake and alert that it's not the right email address. So we're really minimizing a lot of mistakes and missed information in an environment that is often rushed and stressful, and, you know, when we're trying to multitask.
Right. And you talked about the element of letting the back office know when patients are ready, the hovering hygienist, as you're referring to it. So I wanted to hone in just a little bit more on that and what it looks like. So back to our dashboard for just a moment, you can see the patient is in one color right now, like a gray monochromatic scheme, but somebody can click a button, and when they click a button, that patient is ready. It's going to broadcast a notification to everyone that's running Yapi that their status has changed. So you'll see that in just a sec. And their color changes as well. So,
and that's really great, because, you know, the hygienist could be sterilizing her instruments, getting ready for the next patient, and not stress about, you know, not sitting the patient on time. And, you know, sometimes the assistant can maybe still, you know, help the doctor with the other room without constantly checking in with the front, making sure that the patient is seated, because the practice management software will only tell you at best whether the patient is in the office or not. But we don't know whether they're ready to be seated or not. And sometimes they spend quite a bit of time in the front. And I also like that when the patient doesn't check in on time, and that's an important feature for me. When the patient doesn't check in, maybe they're running late, maybe they're you know, maybe they're not coming. Immediately within, and you can specify the time, in my office it's 5 minutes, there's a broadcast that's going around the office that this patient isn't here. And that's great, because it allows the hygienist or the dental assistant who are not in the front, who are not aware of the patient's comings and goings, they can immediately look at the dashboard, see if there's another patient who might be needing hygiene. The doctor who is maybe doing an exam can seize the opportunity to offer same-day treatment to the patient, which is something that I'm huge on. And also, someone can actually jump on the phone and call the patient and say, "Hey, are you almost here? We miss you. I hope everything is okay." So again, lots of opportunities by having this information real time, run in front of your eyes. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to look for it. It just pops up where you need it.
It's almost like having an automated assistant in the background doing a job for you that someone maybe doesn't have time to recognize on the schedule. Oh, somebody's running late. So, hey.
Right.
So Yapi is going to help do that for you. And you mentioned some patients maybe wait a little bit too long in the front office area. You can set up timers in Yapi for that as well, so that after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, 16, whatever you want to set up, they'll start flashing and letting you know that it's been a little bit too long.
Excellent point.
And we're going to talk about one more piece of paper that we're eliminating by improving your communication when you become paperless. In just a moment, you're going to see this patient in Op1 is completed with their visit today. When you click the checkout button from Op1, your clinical staff has an ability to communicate any relevant notes about today's visit. So maybe something changed on the treatment, maybe the next appointment was or was not scheduled. So regardless of if someone's on the phone in the front office when you're trying to have that smooth handoff, you have all of this documented right here on what we call the digital routing slip. So Yapi is showing you everything else you need to know in the background, their medical alerts, their medications, and then this is that final missing piece that lets you add notes, lets you send post-op forms. It shows you those checkboxes, which are totally customizable for your practice. So if you wanted to make any changes, you can do that pretty easily on your setup.
I love that piece because, like I mentioned earlier, I've had that experience when I bring the patient to the front and I want to communicate with my scheduling coordinator about what needs to be done for this patient. And I often found myself standing there waiting for her to get off the phone, getting stressed because maybe I had other patients to see, grabbing a notepad, trying to write things down for her. And my handwriting is horrible. She would always come back to me with the paper like, what? but the problem is that things get forgotten. Maybe we want to communicate insurance history. Maybe we want to communicate that the patient is nervous. Or maybe we want to say, look, this is a helicopter mom, difficult patient. We want to communicate that discreetly without saying that in front of the patient, right? So there are a lot of different ways. And all of that information, even if she's multitasking, even if she didn't hear a word that we said, all of that information is recorded and can be pulled up on a report. And in fact, we can report an exception here, which is, something not going correctly, not according to the plan. And that goes to the designated person, usually the office manager or the practice owner. And we can also add patient to a care call list. Mm-hmm. Right? What a wonderful opportunity for us to continue to impress patients with the quality of care that we provide to them by adding them to the care call list so that anyone, usually a doctor will get a report and then they can call the patient at the end of the day. In my practice, it's usually someone either in the clinical team or the front office, unless the doctor actually does need to make the call himself or herself. And all of that information is recorded in the report. So even if we forget everything that happened, we have a report at the end of the day where all of the communications are recorded and we can see exactly what needed to be done and we can do our checks and balances and to make sure that we didn't forget anything.
Right, and all of the lists that you're talking about are, it's all digital, so you don't have to print anything. Right. It's all stored either in Yapi. Some things can be, like the care call list can be emailed every single day, whoever's still on that list automatically to any emails that one provider or two providers. You can set that up however you like as well, so you can see information in your own inbox that's relevant for you.
Absolutely. We've eliminated a lot of paper here, right? We started by eliminating the new patient forms. We eliminated all of the consent forms because any form, anything you can print on paper, you can print and on the iPad, you can review. The great benefit of an iPad is that patients can zoom in. And just like on paper, you can circle something, you can make notes. So that's a very convenient device. And so any consent form, you can eliminate with that. Any kind of scanning of maybe patient medication lists, you can take a snapshot with an iPad. We've eliminated the sign-in sheet because Yapi makes it so easy to take patient pictures and then look at those pictures from any device, from anywhere in the office, that we're going to immediately recognize our patient, so we don't actually need that sign-in sheet. And now we've just eliminated the digital routing slip, the care call list, the date sheet, and we're about to eliminate one more. piece of paper.
Oh yeah, and post-op forms. We should
And
remember
post-op
that
form.
too.
That's right.
You may have done that already, but Yapi's going to help make that easier. So last, but actually one of the most important things that we're going to be talking about is how you get your day started. Maybe you print out those routing slips, or you have a version of your schedule that you look at that's going to help you identify bottlenecks or potential problems. Maybe something was double booked on purpose, but now it's not going to work out that way. You need to move something around, make a call. I don't know what most practices are doing as far as the materials that they use to look at this, or if they can get everyone together in one place at one time, or if that doesn't happen. Actually, we found in some of the studies that we looked at that not every practice really does a huddle or gets together in the morning before the day. But Yapi is going to make that way easier because everyone has the same information at the same time. With one click of a button, you have your daily huddle. You can look on any calendar day coming up that you choose. So it could be today in the morning, and you're looking at the whole day, or it could be a week from now, or even a little bit further out. But what you're going to see is all of this information that's relevant from your practice management software is compiled in one place with icons that are easy to recognize. You can quickly see who's confirmed, who has an allergy to latex, or who indicated they had tonsillitis their last visit. If there's a balance, it would show up here as well, so you would have some time to catch that before your patients are coming in. You can, of course, see the appointment reason and why the patient's going to be here. But it's also going to show you things that you may miss, like if someone's coming in for their past due recall, or if they're scheduled for another type of appointment, but they have a past due recall, that may be something you'd like to catch early on. You can easily see new patients on the schedule as well. And you can actually sort this schedule or huddle report in a different way. You can look from morning to afternoon, or you could look by provider 1, provider 2, provider 3, and you can look at it in different ways. You can also choose to only view patients on a certain day that have a balance. So everyone else would be filtered out, but you would just see those patients to focus on where the balances are coming from. And you could also, in turn, choose to look at who is scheduled today with a past due recall. And at the bottom of this report, it's going to compile more information that we've talked about today, like the care call patients, or if you're using Yapi to set reminders. You can actually use this report as well to get documents ready in advance. You can say, I know Adam's going to be due for medical history. Let's make sure we put that in his pending documents. And at the bottom, you'll see any outstanding tasks that we call to-dos, your care call patients who have not received that follow-up call yet. And even you can keep track of your goals, some quick KPIs in production. This is all in one place to help you identify those missed opportunities before they become that.
Thank you so much for going over this. You know, I was on Facebook looking through some posts on one of the dental Facebook groups yesterday, and I saw that one office manager was asking others, like, what do you do to prepare for the day? Because it looks, in their office, they're starting to get the charts ready 2 days in advance. And so that means pulling the charts, printing the routing slips. And I remember doing that in my office. In fact, I remember doing that, I'm going to date myself badly, in the early 90s in another dental office where I would use a highlighter, print the routing slips, and just highlight the actionable information, you know, the information that all those patient alerts that pop up automatically would give us. And later, we've got this huddle report in our dental software. And again, we need to print this and we need to mine for information on those reports. And they're not interactive and they're not up to date, because once you print it, your schedule changes. I mean, if you're doing this 2 days in advance, your schedule is going to, you know, get changed quite a bit over time. And so every time it changes, you need to now pull another chart. You need to get another a paper routing slip printed. And it's a lot of work. And now remember, this work is done while we are processing patients in and out, while we're seeing patients, while we're trying to give them a great experience. This is something we're doing in between. And again, that results in errors. And what we're doing with our huddle report is we're trying to eliminate it. Whether in my office, we huddle every morning, mm-hmm. and my office manager comes in with an iPad, pulls up this report, and just goes over the day. But the great thing is, because we're working shifts, anyone who wasn't at the huddle because maybe they're working a second shift, they can pull this report at any time. They can look at it. You can look at this report a week in advance, 2 days in advance, 5 minutes in advance, and it's always going to be the freshest, most relevant information that was found automatically. There are a number of ways that we use this particular report in my practice. One is my front office filters the list by balance, and they do that a few days in advance, and they research where the balance is coming from. One of the most awkward situations in a dental office is when a patient comes in and the front office says, well, you have a $20 balance for today. How would you like to take care of it? And they go, where's that from? I thought my insurance paid everything. I thought I paid everything last time, right? So to avoid this, we look at those balances in advance, if there are any, and we make notes. And even though I have 6 people working at the front office, anyone can see what the balance is for, because any note that we add to this
in this
area, any note that we add in this area to the huddle report will pop up on the dashboard when the patient comes in. So the report is not only interactive, not only the real time, but it also gives us information when it's needed. And of course, the hygienists are filtering this report by continuous care past due to see who they can put in their chair if someone cancels last minute in their practice. And another way we'll look at this report is because all of this actionable information comes in together on the same interface, on the same report. It's very easy to spot a patient who maybe they didn't confirm an appointment. Maybe they have a history of many broken appointments. Maybe they even have an unpaid balance. And when you see all this, the patient is not coming, right? You're not going to sit and wait looking at your practice management software on an appointment book. It may say that, you left a message for this patient. But Yapi will tell you that, yes, you left a message, but you better make sure he's coming in or remove them from the schedule, because with all that information, the spidey senses are telling us this patient is not coming. Now, another way we use this is we have a surgery day on every Friday. And so the surgeon looks at the huddle report in advance, and he's able, because we have the medical history in here, where the patient is a smoker, any medications. The patient can pull up the surgeon can pull up this in advance and look at all of the appointments and make sure they're scheduled for an appropriate time. If the patient is nervous and maybe requires a prescription for sedation, or maybe a little more time because we're going to do conscious sedation in the office, whatever it is that they need to modify on the schedule, he doesn't need to go into our appointment book and review every single chart. He can do it from one report very simply, and whatever notes he makes here, the front office can act on it. They may slightly adjust the appointment. They may call in the prescriptions for a patient. They can remind the patient to pre-med, even though Yapi will do that automatically. We didn't talk about the patient engagement part of it, but there's a lot more to say about Yapi, which we probably should do another webinar for. But again, this is a very useful report that's interactive and available to everyone. And so we call it the virtual huddle, because whether you have a real huddle or not, you always have everyone on the same page with this report.
There's an iPad version as well. So if you do have one monitor and 7 or 8 people kind of going like this, you can actually look at the same information in the layout for the iPad, which is really nice too. Whenever you're getting started with the software or something new in your dental practice, it's always great to have a game plan. So this is a literal game plan. You can play with us. Just kidding. It's your implementation plan whenever you're getting started. So we have a customer success team devoted to getting you started on the right foot. You'll have a couple coaching check-in sessions so you can ask questions, get your answers on the spot. But we also are really excited to launch a new training portal for your self-guided training as well. You can actually have team members certified as a Yapi True Paperless certified expert on your own team and share that information and keep track of their progress. So we're making our exciting improvements for how we provide training materials to you. But we're going to be here, live representatives every step of the way. And the first step is really signing up, choosing your right plan, scheduling a time to decide what features are most important to you, what's your main goal, and communicating that with your team as well. From there, Yapi is a quick installation. It's installed on your server, and then you can have a dashboard downloaded on any desktop computer. And you'll be able to use all of the resources that I've described so far and more. And usually it's like, I would say 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how many features you're looking at getting started. But the great thing is when you learn how to do something on that day, you can immediately integrate that into your practice. So the moment you learn how to have a patient sign a consent form,
You can do it.
don't look back. Just keep on going with that. We do offer form customization services depending on your goals as well. So that's something that would be maybe somewhere part of this process or a question that may come up. We actually have support for Spanish forms as well, which is unique to us, and you'll be able to have patients review their medical history or patient information in Spanish, and it would integrate back to your practice management software in a way that's efficient as well, just like the English version of the forms. But it's really important to have everyone on your team well informed and aware of changes that are coming, so you're not just throwing something, here we go. Having some sort of like a kickoff meeting or a lunch and learn about Yapi just to get everyone on the same page. Whatever software you're using is a great idea, even if it's something beyond paperless that you're implementing. It's a great idea to have a game plan. But speaking of paperless, we're going to just make a quick nod to our forests and acres that we're saving. Over 40,000 iPad forms each day are signed and saved with Yapi. And we just updated 100,000 online forms each month, and that equates to every 15 seconds someone submits a new patient document or an updated insurance form, whatever it may be. So we're saving around 15 trees a day, so more healthy forests on the way because of companies like Yapi. But that's not our main goal here.
Yes, we're whether you're a tree hugger or not, you have to admit that sometimes paper is just more convenient. Like in your office, you might be using, paper towels or toilet paper or paper points for endo. By all means, keep those. When paper is the most efficient way, please keep using paper. But in a dental practice, when it comes to patient care, to transferring information from, the patient to the front office, to the back office, to back to the front office, to the insurance company, and back to the patient, paper is not the most efficient way because we end up doing many things twice. And we're wasting a lot of time, we're making a lot of mistakes, and we're missing opportunities.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We're going to go over a couple of things that are special to this webinar in just a moment, but just to quickly recap, we've totally eliminated all scanning and shredding. You found out what interruptitis is. Maybe you have it, and we can cure that now with you and improve your team communication. Preventing lost opportunities and mistakes, and you saw how all of those intricate details can add up to being 600 hours in an average dental practice per year. And if you're using Yapi already, hopefully you saw a couple of things that are maybe something that you didn't know or a different approach to using the software. And we are located in Southern California, so I just wanted to give you a quick background on our team. Our Newport Beach is our support and development department, and we are coming at you live from North Hollywood, California, where our training, sales, and marketing team reside. And Yapi has been a company officially since 2011, so we turned 7 this year.
Yes, and we've learned a lot about going paperless, and we've perfected Yapi quite a bit over the years. And this is actually not our entire team because we've grown so much.
It's a snapshot.
Yeah, and we would love for you to become a part of our team. So part of our family, rather.
Yeah.
Of course, team too, because we're hiring, but we want you to be a part of our family.
If you are interested in getting started with one of the plans that includes all the features we went over today, we have 2 plans that work great for this. One is called True Paperless, and everything you saw today is included in this for $199 per month. There is a one-time setup fee per your location of $299 just to get started. And if you have customization requests, that's all included in what you see here. And we have another plan called The Works. It's a software bundle. So you're going to get all the features you saw today, plus automated appointment reminders, same-day notifications, recall reminders, due and past due for patients up to 5 years past due. Yapi can send reminders out via text and email on a timeline that you set up to your liking. And you're also going to get intra-office communication. Those notifications are always included with Yapi. That's what makes our software very unique. You're always going to have the ability to do that. And you can send email blast newsletters with your plan as well. There's just a little bit more of a setup fee on The Works because there's more software to get going and install. And your rate is just $299 per month. So it's just $100 more to have all those other features in addition to the paperless online forms, informed consents, treatment plans, updates, everything.
And patient engagement, most practices that don't use Yapi use another service, and those can run up to, $300-400.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely an incredible value.
And one of the features that's our add-on, it's usually $49 per month, but it's called INSTAREVIEW. So you may be trying to find a way to get more real reviews on Google, on Facebook, on Health Grades as a provider. And you'll be able to use a text message feature by Yapi. When you dismiss patients, automatically they would get a text. It's personalized. It can even include the provider name, which I think is awesome. So it can read that from your schedule, or you can set up nickname. You can set up your preferred names for your team. So it could say, "Hi Adam, this is Dr. Dorfman."
Or Dr. G.
Or Dr. G, Dr. Gina, whatever you'd like to, whatever your patients may refer to you as that you're comfortable with. And there's just a little link to tap on. You can see whether the patient can choose their preferred review site to leave the review on, or there is a button if for some reason something didn't go quite right with that visit. There's an indicator, didn't have a great visit, contact us directly. So there's a way out for that critical review to be sent privately to you rather than them choosing from one of the reviews above. So usually it's $49 per month, but your first 3 months with whatever plan you choose will be complimentary.
That's a great deal. That sounds like a great deal. And one of the things that we've always tried to do with Yapi is really bring a lot of great features together, because not only it's a great value when you don't have to stitch together multiple solutions, and it's less training and it's easier to use because everything is in one place. All of these features work together and complement each other in a way that it's a very tight integration, both with different features and with the practice management software. Any questions?
I'm going to leave up a few kind words from awesome dentists and dental teams that have had great experiences with Yapi. There's more on our website, so if you're looking for more information or real feedback, our customer stories are real. We have a blog on our website as well. It's we're constantly updating, and we have special stories in a segment called Behind the Smiles, which is a good resource to see a little bit more about our customers and their backgrounds. And our forum is now open for questions. If you have had questions answered by Ken throughout today, thank you, Ken, for providing those responses. And if there's anyone else, we'll go ahead and answer those questions now.
So the question about the pediatric forms, great question, because we have quite a significant number of our customers are pediatric practices. And one of the reasons is because we're able to provide family check-in, family forms where the, busy mom checking in multiple kids doesn't have to retype the same information multiple times. And also because the dashboard really helps doctors manage often a very high volume of pediatric patients. So it's definitely a great fit for pediatric practices. And we have special forms for pediatric practices. So, for example, in my office, we see both kids and adults. In fact, the name of the practice is Kids and Adults. So I have both pediatric forms and adult forms. And you could choose which form works for you. The forms are completely customizable, although a great deal for many startup practices, and actually even existing practices that are wanting to kind of up their game with consent forms and proper paperwork, is that we provide a complete library of forms. Some of them get installed by default, and then there are also other forms that can be downloaded from our help side once you sign up with Yapi. So you will have all these resources available to you, and if you still have a form that you want to customize, we're happy to do that for you. So there's a question if there's a contract. I'm sorry. No, there's absolutely no contract. We believe in earning your business. We want you to be happy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining today, and we'll be here to answer your questions. You can send an email, you can give us a call anytime.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.